Welcome to the New York Outlook for Thursday, 23 November 2023. Recapping on the news that occurred for the day, starting with GBPUSD. As you can see, GBPUSD news was GBP news specifically was very positive, resulting in GBPUSD having significant upside. This was perfect as it aligned to my trading plan and resulted in a trade that didn't experience much adverse excursion. However, what I do want to do is just touch on where we are right now. So essentially, as you can see, this was where we were roughly in the morning, around about here, and the premise was that we wick this level, so there was a chance that if we body close this level, we could create a pullback phase OB right here, and then we'd have reasons to both long and short. However, at the time I also identified the buy to sell wicks. This was broken during Asia, so that was quite perfect. And then we essentially moved on to the 5-minute, and we identified a significant demand chain forming, with this being the pre-Asia low of the day, which was fine. Moving on, we essentially came into Frankfurt in London, continuing the uptrend. At this stage I wasn't able to get into an entry. However, later on I did manage to get this entry. I put my stop loss around this area just to cover a whole bunch of potential liquidities. However, I was quite long bias at this point, given that there was significant IRL. There was no reason to consider trading both directions. The market structure on the 4-hour and the overall 4H narrative is significantly bullish. And then subsequent to that, we had the PPI news, which aligned with my trade idea, and you can see we had this big candle. However, I didn't manage to take my target, which was set at 1 to 5, just outside the ERL, and I was happy to set my target like this because average daily range for GBPUSD is around 95. This is roughly, we can check it, about 84 pips. So in my opinion, there is enough room to reach this target. In addition, I anticipate that the 4H candle will body break this level to validate the swing structure. However, given where we are at this moment in time, this 4H OB has achieved its target as it's taken out the 4H URL, although it's with a wick. However, we still have a target right here, and the wick simply validates a mitigating OB from this ERL continuation. So for now, I won't consider longs until we come back into this level. I don't anticipate this happening today, perhaps tomorrow. For now, I'm quite happy to essentially keep my trade open. I do believe the target will be reached, as there's many factors supporting it, and there isn't USD news to come out which would bring it back. So given all this, I'll keep the trade open and monitor how the next 4H candle closes. I did consider closing it around here. However, there isn't a compelling reason to do so, and I think it makes more sense to let my run per my trade plan. However, I also have these emotions from yesterday where my USD CAD trade came all the way to break even, and I'd hate to see this one do the same. However, if it does, no, I had no reason to worry about this. However, I guess the one thing to be said is perhaps I'm being greedy and I should have just TP'd at 1 to 4 as such. But for now, my idea is to see how the next 4-hour candle closes, which is in just over an hour's time, and depending on how this candle closes, I will either close out this trade or leave it open. Hopefully when New York opens, even though I know there isn't really volume from New York. I'm hoping that the London traders will return from lunch and hopefully push my trade up and take me out at TP. But that remains to be seen. Overall, good trade, good narrative, quite an easy spot. Not too much complexity with this one. I think the one thing just to note and to clarify my trading plan, because I hadn't really considered it, but the mechanics work the same, right? Essentially, once you take out a structure, whether it be substructure or swing structure, you essentially validate your mitigating OB at this point. In terms of because we haven't really had a substructure change here, there is this chalk to consider. However, because like I mentioned, there isn't a substructure change, I don't really need the chalk. And in a substructure sense, if we consider it, like, let's consider this scenario. Let's say that's a proton OB and we had the chalk and the substructure change, right? And we came and then we wicked the substructure level, and this would be the chalk resting. That would essentially create this mitigating OB. Because we in ERL continuation pretenses, the creation of a primary leg doesn't make sense, right? Because we're already pro-trend. The whole idea behind ERL continuation is to be in this extreme pro-trend momentous move. So that's where we are right now. And then I guess going forward, yeah, I don't foresee taking any New York trades today, because taking New York trades would essentially require us to come to this OB, then order flow shift, and then go from there. What we could potentially do, we do have this demand sitting here. However, for price to come all the way and take out this low of the day seems highly unlikely, and if it does, there isn't support to suggest why a low of the day in this area would make sense. So given all these factors and the fact that it's we're not expecting much volume in the New York session, I think, yeah, I don't anticipate looking for any trades. Targets for the specific forge OB, target has been achieved. Now we got a new OB, so for the new OB we'll need new IRL, and then obviously to validate the IRL we need order flow to do so. Yeah, I'm not comfortable trading without IRL and not comfortable with trading without validating IRL. So in this regard I'll be patient and I'll wait, but yeah, we will go from there. In terms of EURUSD, just quickly touching on the news again, you'll see we had both positive and negative EURUSD news, although it looks like somewhat more positive than negative. However, this somewhat gives us a neutral evaluation of which direction we want to trade from. Quickly tapping on the 4 hour, as you can see, we are still, well, what happened is in the morning we were considering both longs and shorts. Starting the day off we were right around here, so there was potential to short. However, we were waiting for the Asia range to be liquidated. That was subsequently liquidated, but to the upside we had this 4H candle closure that effectively broke this 4H last point of supply and then gave us a primary OB to work from. In terms of New York trading, what I can wait for is for price to come into this 4H OB. Again, in terms of a new low of the day, that seems highly unlikely, and there's nothing to support a New York based low of the day. So if New York creates a new low of the day, then yeah, there's no reason for me to trade it, and that would simply mean I got my daily direction wrong. But yeah, essentially what I would be waiting for is for price to come into this 4HOB, then create a new primary leg through order flow shifting without taking out the low of the day, and then yeah, we can then consider a new long idea. So yeah, we'll see if that pans out. I think monitoring the 5 minutes is probably your best bet for getting an entry. And then the other thing is, don't don't trade after your session ends due to low volume anticipated. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on it and then go from there. 4 o'clock is the essential for our candle to monitor and conclude on. Yeah, so I guess that brings me to the end of my New York outlook for Thursday, the 23rd of November.